Oh, got some gunk in my chunk. Ugh. DSLR film. Noob. All right, guys, what I've got here today is the CPM Film Tools Cube Cage 3.0. As you can see, this thing is nice and solid. It's got a lot of rails and parts to it, a lot of nice grips and handles, and a whole plethora of different mounting positions. So let's take a closer look at the CPM Film Tools Cube Cage. All right, I feel like the best way to describe and show you what the CPM Cube Cage is all about is to take some things off. So let's take this rail handle off right here. And if we flip this over, you'll notice that there are a ton of holes all the way across the top, pretty much a Swiss cheese plate, so you can mount stuff however you'd like. If you don't want the through holes and instead you want threaded inserts, they have inserts for about $12 or $14 that you can buy extra with this rig, and you can pretty much stick threads anywhere you want on your rig. This is extremely handy and makes it very customizable for your application. One nice new thing about the CPM Film Tools rigs is that they've added end caps to the handles. These add a little bit of style to the rig, and they also make it a little bit more ergonomic. These are very comfortable to hold on to. The handles are nice and firm. They feel really good in your hand. And since this is designed to be walked around with and held as a handheld rig, the handles are very important, and it's nice to see that these are nice and solid, and they don't flex or bend for me, and they're made very nicely. As you can see, the top comes off pretty easy. You only have 2 thumb screws to remove it from the rig, and you'll notice again that there's the Swiss cheese plate right here that's got plenty of holes to mount your stuff on. And once you've got this set up the way you want it, it just slides right back on like so. Pretty easy to do, not a big deal. And of course, rail, handles, just slide on like so as well. Pretty nice. 2 little thumb screws to tighten down, and your rig is ready to rock and roll. One thing to note is that the space between here and here isn't large enough for you to use a battery grip on your camera. I would consider getting longer rails for your cube if that is something that you use. So when I was setting this rig up, there were 2 things I noticed right away. Number one is this area right here. There's no dropout for your battery, so you can't remove your battery unless you take the camera out of the rig. And the other thing is this guy right here. This little Allen makes the quick release plate not so quick. So I emailed the guys at CPM Film Tools, and they explained to me that there's a spacer you can buy for this plate right here that allows you to add the thumb screw to your unit. That makes this a lot handier. The spacers are only a few extra dollars for the rig. The other thing is the solution for this, they're releasing a new mold of the bottom plate in about 2 weeks that has a knockout built into it, so that you can use that instead of this particular plate to remove your battery from the unit. Another option to consider would be to run your rig with a Tekkeon battery. The battery straps mount to the top, and from what I understand, these will last about 12 to 14 hours, so a whole day worth of shooting power in your camera. The rigs have an adapter for both the T2i and the 7D, and I'll have links to that information in the crotch bar below. So here's the show and tell. This is the rig fully configured. You can see that I've got my follow focus on here, a nice monitor. I've got my Zoom H1 right here, cable routed through, and we'll spin this around so you can kind of get an idea of the workflow on this guy. One thing I would recommend on this rig is putting a 90 right here on the HDMI port so that your cable doesn't stick out where your handles are. It keeps it away from your hands and saves you a little bit of headache. I also have my handles upside down. I like that in case something happens and my rig gets knocked down from my hands. This keeps my hands hitting this spot right here as opposed to losing my rig and sending it to the ground. You also notice that this pretty much protects your entire camera. The rails come out to protect your lens, and the body is completely protected by the cage right here. It also only adds about 2 to 3 inches on either side to the size of your camera, so it's fairly narrow for a regular size rig. If the CPM Film Tools Cube Cage seems like something you might be interested in, I would consider picking up the rod clamps, the threaded inserts, and the spacer kit. These will add a little bit more functionality to this kit, and they don't add a whole lot more cost. One other thing I will note is that I did lower this handle right here. The reason for that is because I can slip my hand through here, rest the rig on my wrist, and then still operate my follow focus fairly conveniently. This keeps the camera stable while I'm walking around in handheld mode. So after spending some time with the CPM Film Tools Cube Cage, I think it's pretty lightweight, it's well designed, and it's very solid. Plus, the upgrades that are coming from CPM Film Tools will make this rig even better. If you're looking for a cage style rig like this one right here, this is good bang for your buck and something I would definitely consider. The rig is nicely made, it's got a lot of rails and parts to it that are nice and solid, and it's very well built. As always, thanks for watching. And if you like this content, please subscribe.